Pause, reflect, then choose. This is Butterfly Thoughts with Kelly Savage. There's something about the feeling of being safe. There's also something about the feeling of being unsafe. I've felt both in my life, and I can tell you without hesitation that I will take the feeling of safety every single time. That word safe can have many meanings. Sometimes it's physical. You may be walking around and suddenly something happens that makes you feel unsafe. Sometimes it's emotional. Someone says something hurtful, criticizes you, dismisses your thoughts or feelings. Suddenly, a place that once felt safe no longer does. As humans, we were created with the desire to feel safe. I think it's probably more important to us than we realize. Most days, we may not even think about it because we're simply living our lives on autopilot. But when that feeling of safety is threatened, physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, we become very aware of how much it matters. Think about a parent whose child is in danger. Everything changes in an instant. Their focus sharpens. Their desire to protect rises up immediately. Safety matters. Have you ever had a person in your life who made you feel safe? Someone you could call when life felt heavy? Someone you could run to when you needed encouragement, who accepted you for exactly who you were. And here's the powerful part: without judgment. Today's butterfly thought is about one of the most beautiful gifts we can give another person. It's not something that can be purchased. It's not something can be wrapped in a box with a pretty bow. But it may be one of the most powerful gifts we ever offer. The gift of acceptance. Not acceptance because someone is perfect, because let's be honest, none of us are. Not acceptance because we agree with every choice they make, and not acceptance because we ignore the truth, but acceptance because they're human, because they are worthy of dignity, because they're deeply loved by God. And I think before we can truly extend that kind of acceptance to others, we have to understand it for ourselves. We have to begin to understand how deeply loved we are by God, how much grace He has extended to us, how much mercy He continues to offer us. Think back to that safe person in your life. What made them safe? Maybe they listened without rushing to correct you. Maybe they listened without immediately sharing their own opinion. Maybe they didn't make you feel judged for mistakes you made years ago, or even mistakes you are still struggling through. They simply listened, accepted you, and when truth needed to be spoken, they spoke it with love and grace. There is something incredible and incredibly healing about that. Yet we live in a world that often moves in the opposite direction. People are quick to judge, quick to label, quick to criticize, quick to decide what someone else should be doing. Social media has made this even easier. We often see a small piece of someone's story and assume we know the entire picture. Meanwhile, there are people hurting emotionally, mentally, and spiritually because they feel unseen, misunderstood, or judged. When we look at Jesus, we see something different. People were drawn to Him. Broken people, hurting people, people carrying shame, guilt, fear, and mistakes. Why? Because before Jesus corrected, He connected. Before He challenged, He loved. Before He transformed lives, He accepted people enough to sit with them, speak with them, and truly see them. There's a lesson in that for every one of us. How many people around us are simply longing to be seen? What if our prayer this week, this month, this year. God, help me see people the way you see them. Open my eyes, my heart, my ears. Show me what I'm missing. Show me where judgment has taken the place of compassion. Show me where assumptions have replaced understanding. Imagine how our relationships might change. Imagine how our perspective would change. Imagine how our world might change, because people are longing to be seen, not fixed, not lectured, not compared, just seen, heard, accepted. And let me repeat something important. Acceptance does not mean approving of everything. Acceptance does not mean abandoning God's truth. Acceptance simply means recognizing that every person carries a story we do not fully understand. It means choosing compassion over criticism, grace over judgment, curiosity over assumptions. And perhaps one of the greatest gifts acceptance offers is healing. When people feel accepted, walls begin to come down. Maybe it's only a brick at a time, a small crack here, a little opening there. Sometimes those walls were built over years, and sometimes they're built from hurt, disappointment, fear, or trauma. And that's actually one of the most beautiful gifts my husband gave me years ago. I challenged him in the beginning. I had hurts, fears, and walls, and yet he stayed. He stood with love. He stood with grace. He was steadfast and stood with mercy. Little by little, a little brick here and a little brick there, those walls began to come down. At the time, I didn't fully understand what was happening. I only knew that someone was choosing to love me consistently and steadfastly. Not because I had it all figured out, and not because I was perfect, but because he simply loved me and accepted me for just who I was. Looking back now, I can honestly say it's exactly what I needed. It was what I needed to heal, what I needed to flourish. It was what I needed to become the person God was calling me to be. And my husband would probably tell you he had no idea that's exactly what I needed. He simply did it. That's the beautiful thing. Because over time, fear began to lose its grip. The masks began to fall away. I no longer felt like I had to prove my worth. I was already worthy to him. Not because I earned it, but because I was loved. And isn't that exactly what God does for us? He sees every flaw, every failure, every insecurity, every hidden struggle. Yet he still loves us. He pursues us. He still calls us his own. Romans tells us that we were still, yet when we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Not after we got everything together, not after we became perfect, but before. That is the kind of acceptance that changes lives. That is the kind of acceptance that reflects the character of God. And perhaps the deeper question today is this: am I allowing myself to receive God's acceptance as freely as he offers it? Because for a long time I wasn't. I didn't feel worthy of it. I convinced myself I didn't deserve it. I replayed those thoughts over and over again. But God has a way of gently breaking down those lies. As we seek him, as we pursue him, as we invite him into our healing, he often sends reinforcements. Sometimes it's a person, just like for me. Sometimes it's a friend. Sometimes it's a spouse, just like for me. Sometimes it's a conversation, a Bible verse, or what seems like a coincidence. But God uses these moments to remind us that we are loved, that we are worthy, that we belong to him. And when we begin to truly understand how deeply we are loved by Him, it becomes easier to extend the grace to others. Our cup begins to overflow, and suddenly we find ourselves wanting to offer the same acceptance we once desperately needed ourselves. One of the most God-like things we can do is to accept people with grace while trusting God with their journey. And that's important. Let me say it. It's their journey. It's not ours. Our responsibility is not to change people. Our responsibility is to love them, pray for them, encourage them, and speak truth in love when God calls us to do so. The rest belongs to Him. You may never know how much healing your kindness, your listening, your patience, and your acceptance bring to another person's life. But God knows. And sometimes those acts, those very small acts, become the very things that help a heart begin to heal. As we extend grace to others, God continues to grow us too. He softens us, teaches us, transforms us. And perhaps that creates one of the most beautiful circles of all. Receiving His grace, extending His grace, and watching Him change hearts along the way, including our own. Today's butterfly thought is simple. One of the greatest gifts we can give another person is to make them feel safe enough to be seen, heard, and loved, while trusting God with the rest. Thank you for joining me today on Butterfly Thoughts. Until next time, may you see others through God's eyes, love others through God's heart, and rest in the acceptance He freely offers you.